You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Well, hey everyone, welcome to Free for All Friday. Jim here. I'm at Mom's. We're going to have a good time, folks. We got a lot to talk about. It's been one horrific week. Everyone I know is tired. Everyone I talk to is frustrated. Everyone I talk to, they've had it with the stupid folks. We need a good free for all. It'd be nice to jump in the ring and just start throwing dukes. Too bad we're not allowed to do that, huh? But we can come here, Free for All Friday on the Prepared Mind channel. We're going to talk about what is on your mind as well as the prepared mind, huh? I tell you what, we're going to mix it up good time. Get your questions into Jolene. We're going to do a little bit of me, a little bit of you. Back and forth, instead of me doing a whole 30 minutes in a row without giving you guys a break, right? I'm going to give you guys a break and a half. And hopefully, you can break my will as well. I tell you what, you can also do Stump the Jim, right? Tell a lie, tell the truth, or one truth, one lie, whatever you want to call it. You can say, which one is true? And then give me two questions, make two statements, and I'll tell you what I think is the real deal. All right, let's do it. Let's start with something I've got on my mind. Something that I heard this, I thought, you've got to be kidding me, right? Biden goes and says, number one, I've got sanctions for Russian officials, right? We heard about that. Over 300 more Russians and organizations being sanctioned. And then he tells the Europeans he's meeting with that sanctions never deter. They don't act as a deterrence. He said that in a NATO speech about Russia. Now, first, Jen Psaki says there will be shortages due to the Ukraine crisis. Remember that? Then Joe repeats it in Brussels. Yes, there will be food shortages. Higher prices will be the result. Doesn't say we're going to run out of food and we're all going to starve to death. There's just going to be some shortages, right? So in order to fix the problem, resulting in what, right? Lower prices, more food availability to end the crisis. Well, so yeah, you end the crisis and we'll have food availability, lower prices. Instead, Joe imposes more sanctions on Russia. That's going to fix it, right? And during the press release, he says sanctions never deter. So why do them if they don't deter and are certain to piss off the Russians and make our problems even worse, making our goals even hard to accomplish, the things we need harder to obtain? On a fundamental level, folks, Joe just admitted he is making things worse for us, doing it intentionally, and not fixing a damn thing here or in Ukraine. I mean, pull your hair out. I can't freaking believe this. I want to thank you, Rudy, the urban Aboriginal, for checking in with me today. He gave me a call and caught me. It was great talking to you, buddy. Talked with Crispy Bacon today as well. Talked to a number of you. And boy, I tell you what, people, they just want to write this thing off and go, look, let's do it. Let's have a great reset over the weekend and start with something that at least has a semblance of sense to it. All right, Jolene, I hope you're doing well. Are you doing well out there? On the Fraser show, he had a radio show and Roz would come on and talk. Well, Jolene doesn't do that for us, but she'll put stuff up on the, on the board up here, right? She'll put stuff in there for us. Anyways, I hope you're doing well there, Jolene. Who do we want to throw up? There it is. All good. Oh, Jolene could come on, but she doesn't want to be famous. So instead, we're going to go to Kathy Lamaster. A question regarding freeze-drying food. I've read that it's almost cheaper to buy and stock up already prepared versus getting a freeze dryer. I still want one, but thoughts? Okay, here's the deal as far as I see it, Kathy. When you buy long-term food storage items, rice, dried beans, things that already come in bulk and dry store, right? If you want to get dry corn, dry rice, dry beans, it's already dried. All you have to do is seal it, right? And put in a drying out package, seal it in cans or buckets or whatever, and you're good. But other foods that require freeze drying, if you buy them from, any long-term food storage company, you will pay more. You will pay more. So if you get a freeze dryer, right, to make your own, The one thing you get that you don't get with foods you buy from Thrive or from the preparedmind.club is you know what's going in. You know where you bought the meat, you know where you bought the vegetables, where grew them. That's the difference, is you rest more assured knowing what you're freeze drying and preparing. And we do sell the Harvest Freeze Right food prep machines and stuff like that on the preparedmind.club. It just comes down to peace of mind. Now, you could buy a freeze dryer yourself and make those foods and store them now and then get more and keep storing them. You could get them and save it, sell it for friends. You can use it in a lot of different ways. Thank you for putting the link up there. We do have the Harvest Right still. When you buy pre-made Armageddon chow, you're only getting it, but when you buy the Harvest Right freeze dryer, you can use it again and again and again and again. You can make a bunch, and at a certain point, it begins to pay for itself and then some. What that breakdown point is, I don't know. Right? But what I do know is it's very handy and works like a champ, because that's really, in a lot of ways, that's what they're using in these big food factories to make all of this Armageddon chow for us out here. Anyways, it is a great topic. If you want to know what's in your freeze-dried goodies, do it yourself. And just whatever you do, this is the key I've been trying to make. For not only for this week, but for years, is you just need to be prepared for a long-term emergency. Right? A short-term emergency, that's a day. That's a couple hours, right? It's like, dang, power went out. I'm talking about there's a few days here and a few days there, a few days here, and then, just troubles off and on, power supply, food, deliveries, fuel deliveries. If we start getting into that, you're going to rest a lot better knowing you got 3 months or 6 months worth of food. It's just how it works, folks. The less you have to worry about, the more you can focus on the things that are taking place at this moment in NSHTF, Mad Max, or Hotspot, if you will. You don't want to be worrying about what's for dinner if you should be worrying about who's coming down the road and causing problems in your world. All righty, that was you guys. I think I'm going to move on to this piece right here, folks. This is perfect for a free-for-all Friday. You guys have heard of MSNBC. Well, it's kind of like CNBC and NBC and CNN all rolled into one. So MSNBC does a news bit, a story, and says health and fitness are the new gateway drug to the far right, meaning if you're a health nut, if you're into fitness, if you're into being healthy, you better be careful, right? Yes, really, folks, really. Apparently, health and fitness is the new gateway drug. Gateway drug. What's a gateway drug? Well, you don't just start out using, cocaine and freebase and heroin. No. You start out with a couple of hits on the old Mary Jane. And so that people say, well, getting used to the idea of using drugs comes through the use of a very light drug, marijuana. So it's a gateway drug. Well, they're using that terminology to show the difference between you and the far crazy right, and health and fitness, that thing in the middle. If you do health and fitness, it's just another hop, skip, and a jump to being a right-wing lunatic, right? They had an article entitled "Pandemic Fitness Trends Have Gone Extreme." Literally, folks, it asserts that online fascists are colonizing mixed martial arts. Isn't this interesting? And combat sports spaces as some kind of secret plot to create neo-Nazis and white supremacists. Now, isn't this amazing? MMA, mixed martial arts, is what they use in, right, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. The UFC fighters, who Joe Rogan is the announcer for UFC. And then we've had these other UFC fighters come out and say, we're tired of this stupid shit with the Democrats and all the crap they're doing, right? Calling them out on their lies. And so now they're saying, well, MMA fighters, they're, mixed martial arts fighters, Ultimate Fighting Challenge or Champion. They're all neo-Nazis, folks. So it's incredible. If you exercise regularly, folks, for health and fitness, the next step is getting a swastika tattoo. Did you know that? Wait a minute. You know, the Ukrainian army, you'll get a swastika like those guys, and they're the good guys. Remember? The Azov battalion, Ukrainian army, are the good guys, and they have swastikas on them. So I thought the mainstream media and the president and everyone was saying that being a Nazi is good. Well, is it good or is it bad? Don't be a right-wing extremist, right? So Nazi good over there in Ukraine, over here in the United States, Nazi bad. It's maddening trying to put logic and reason to what these people do and say, folks. That's why I'm like, okay, I'm ready for the weekend. I know I'll be back for Sunday Night Live with you guys. So definitely tune in for that. It'll be 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as usual. Right? I just get a little bit of a break. I try to get a little bit of a break on the weekend and just clear the head, clear the mind. But they just put stupid shit out like this. Nazis, only they don't call them Nazis. They say the Azov battalion, the Ukrainians are good. In fact, I saw some jackass today with a little red and blue ribbon tied to his driver mirror. I just wanted to reach out, grab it, and just yank it off there. Like, dude, stop supporting Nazis, because that's what they are. Unbelievable. But here in this country, right-wing extremism is the equivalent of Nazi white supremacist, and it's bad. I'll say it again. But over in Ukraine, it's good. See, it's not about right and left, folks. It's not about far left-wing and far right-wing. It's not about that. Those are punchlines to bad jokes. Those are divisive terms. This is about freedom and liberty versus global corporate power and authoritarian government. Everything else is just bullshit they throw at us. I could go ask anyone on the street right now, are Nazis good or bad? And they're going to say Nazis are bad. And then I say, well, why are you supporting Ukrainian Nazis? And they're going to go, what? I'm going to say, yeah, their army is a bunch of Nazis. They pose with Nazi flags. They have swastikas tattooed to them. Right? And I can say American Nazis bad. They're going to go, that's right. And I'm going to go, then why are we supporting them in Ukraine? The people can't answer it because it makes no sense. Short circuit. Short circuits them. All right. There it is. Let's see. Pull up a good one out of all the comments and all the questions and everything. Oh, shoot. There it is. Opie Waddell checking back in. Uh-oh. It looks like we have a Stump the Gym question. Well, my brother John, I don't know what he's doing. Like I said, every now and then I step in for him. I'm in Mom's kitchen and stump the gym. It doesn't matter. Anyways, John, which is true? Some chickens have black meat under their feathers. Uncle Buck graduated in the top of his class. I don't even know where to begin with this one. Which is true? Uncle Buck, I guess meaning Joe Biden, Uncle Biden, President Gigi Biden graduated in the top of his class. And one, some chickens have black meat under their feathers. You know, I can't make head nor tails of that one. Joe Biden did not graduate in the top of his class. So the real truth must be that chickens have black meat under their feathers. I doubt that Joe actually finished class. Did I miss something here? Somebody? Anybody? I sure hope I don't find any black meat on chicken wing. Anyways, thank you very much, Opie. Always a challenge for me having your questions, comments, and opinions. Thank you, sir, so very much. I do love that, folks. The Stump the Gym episode, a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun because it kind of causes you to think a little bit and look deeper into questions that we deal with. Now, here is a big what the heck is going on? Saudi Arabia says it, quote, will not be held responsible. Responsible for what? Well, guess what? They're having, down in Saudi Arabia, folks, they're having problems with the Houthis. And I'm not talking about Houthi and the Blowfish. I'm talking about their tribal warfare issues they're having. Apparently, the large refinery over there, Aramco, it kind of went kaput today, got in trouble. And they're having problems all over the Middle East. It's not just Eastern Europe. It's not just the United States and Mexico and Canada. The whole world is essentially losing its mind right now. This is what happens as we descend, right, down and down and down into SHTF land. So folks, expect even more shortages, more delays, and higher prices when it comes to fuel. Now, the Saudi state media is citing the kingdom's energy ministry to confirm that petroleum products distribution facilities in the cities of Jazan and Jeddah were hit on Friday. Yemeni Houthi missile and then a drone attack, which had at least 16 different projectiles targeting Saudi infrastructure, including, well, reportedly including a water plant. The energy ministry said the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, quote, will not be held responsible for any shortage of oil supplies to global markets. Isn't that fascinating? We're having an oil crisis issue. Now, the world's greatest, most popular elected president, Biden, I think he probably beat me he beat me heading to mom's here as he went to Delaware again. But I mean, is this guy president, or is he like president of the homeowners association down in Delaware? He ran over to Saudi Arabia, other Middle East countries. He didn't actually run. He called them on the phone, begging for more oil. He begged oil out of Venezuela. Couldn't get it there either. And now the Middle East is saying, yeah, we're having problems here. And how would we know if they're lying or telling the truth? They could set up, a barrel with some nasty freaking asphalt in it, set it on fire, make a big plume of black smoke, take a picture from a mile away and say, oh my gosh, a Houthi rocket went off, took out part of our oil plant, took out part of our water plant, hit some pipeline stuff to give themselves an excuse to say, F you, right? There's a problem here, folks. Relations between the United States government, I never want people to think that we, the people, have a relationship with any other government or its leaders. We don't. It's the United States government. And it's a very small piece of dirt right down there, right? It's not in Maryland. It's just kind of there. It's its own little place, 5 miles by 5 miles. DC is a government all to itself, and it is who deals with other countries. And it's pissed off other countries to the extent that they, the Saudis and others, are now going and cutting deals with Russia and China to provide oil, to acquire defense. The United States of America is us, the people, but the U.S. government has been screwing things up ad nauseum. Look at what is happening around us. Man. And speaking of Joe, right? Joe Biden. Biden's America, folks. This is an example of what's happening in our country. People in Southern California, and I can only imagine this being San Diego. I can't imagine people in LA, but San Diego, people are driving to Tijuana for cheaper gas. And Tijuana, folks, is not in the United States. It's in the country of Mexico. Can you imagine saying, I'm going to drive to Mexico and get cheaper gas? Mexico is a horribly corrupt government. Yeah, they're the government, and I won't want to have anything to do with them. Would you feel safe with the Mexican law enforcement when they pull you over, would you feel safe if you were arrested and put in jail and believe that you're going to have justice and be set free? Well, hell, we don't even have that in this country anymore. So you may as well go to Mexico to get your cheaper gas. I'm assuming we can trust their refineries just as much as we can trust our own at this point. Yeah, because in California, didn't they have a California refinery, the largest out there, decide they're going to go on strike at this particular time? That's right. Go on strike in California. Venezuela won't provide oil. OPEC won't increase production. Russia says, if you're going to buy our oil, you have to do it with rubles, and we're not going to give you rubles unless you give us gold, essentially. It's getting stupid, folks. And it's a bad, bad sign when anything in Mexico, any natural resource or commodity like fuel, is cheaper than our country. I'm surprised, or I would be surprised, if Governor Gavin Newsom doesn't ask what your mileage is and check your fuel tank if you try leaving the state. And then if you come back into the state with more fuel than you left with, I bet he would want to tax you on that fuel because, you're burning that fuel on his roads. It's that bad, folks. It's that stupid. And it's not going to get better. Free for All Friday, folks. What do you want to talk about? Jolene, what do we have? We got Anita F checking in with a question. What would be the indicators that it is time to throw cell phones in the swamp? I find I leave my cell at home often because of tracking and spying. What would be indicators that it's time to throw our cell phones away? Throw them in the swamp, flush them down the toilet. We have become attached to technology, me included, all of us, right? You can't be away from the computer or your phone for very long because literally it is how business is done now, right? We used to say, going out to dinner, gonna leave the house. And the phone was in the house because it was stuck to the wall with a cord. There's no cordless phone, leaving the house. And you could go out and have a good time and forget about all the bullshit. Well, now we have to stay connected to our kids, our parents, our friends, be available 100% of the time. When you start feeling like that, I do recommend leaving the phone at home. Do it. Another thing, turn that son of a bitch off. Just turn it off. Power it down. If you really want to confuse the world, wrap it in a towel and then cover the towel in aluminum foil and then put it inside a metal garbage can after you've turned it off, of course. That way you're resting assured that no signal is getting out. I think just turning the phone off disables everything. I know we like to believe that somehow magically, secretly, they're still listening. Right? At this point, I don't think so. I've actually had my phone turned off for a whole day and the battery didn't lose any power. I leave my phone on for an hour or two and it loses enough power just sitting there with the cell tower on. It's a significant loss. As far as just throwing them away or getting rid of them, when you hear gunfire out on the street, right? When you hear that people are being arrested for no particular reason, might be a time to throw that phone at somebody like a grenade and just move on with life. We'll find out, folks. You'll know, assuredly as you know when it's time to get out your favorite shotgun and take up a position at the front door. You'll know. That's when you'll know, right? The other time is when they turn off the cell towers. They just turn them off altogether. Well, now it's not needed anymore. They're literally telling you, you don't get to have a phone. At that point, what good is it? Not much good at all, I have to say. All right. We're going to move on to this topic, which I found to be particularly fascinating. Mitch McConnell, Turtle Man, Republican, leader of the Senate, Mitch McConnell, leader of the minorities in the Senate, says he's going to vote against confirming Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court. Okay, This is incredible to me, folks. I think she should be disqualified, not just voted against. She shouldn't even be allowed to be sitting there, right? But but it's important to note, I think, from the side of being a patriot, an American, and a prepper, Joe made this nomination based on race and gender. Race and gender. If she is voted down and tossed out of the process, will the idiotic mainstream media claim it was a racist move in the Senate and gin up and stir up civil unrest again, BLM riots, etc.? It looks like they may have the votes to get her passed. I don't know. The Democrats are saying yes. The Republicans are saying no. That's why I said she shouldn't even be allowed to come up for a vote. She should be disqualified. She couldn't even tell them. A Supreme Court nominee, a judge, could not define a woman. Now, you're supposed to be incredibly smart to be an attorney, I thought. Maybe not incredibly smart, but you should be intelligent enough to be able to read and remember. You don't have to be a biological expert to understand what a woman is, but she said she couldn't define a woman, and she's not a biologist. I don't have to be a biologist to look at something and go, that's a frog, that's a dog. They both have 4 legs, but all things with 4 legs aren't dogs. So that green thing must be a frog, right? There's a big difference between a frog and a dog. And there's a big difference between a man and a woman. One has a penis, one has a vagina. How hard is that? She should be disqualified for not being able to answer one of the most simple questions on the planet. Now, when it comes down to her reluctance to sentence pedophiles to lengthy jail terms, yeah, that's another one. She should be just disqualified. She shouldn't even get a vote. And if Joe wants to base this on, gender and race, use identity politics, which of course are very divisive again, then perhaps he can pick someone who can at least count to 4 or stick her own hands in her own pants and figure out what her gender is and then define it properly. Embarrassing, folks. Absolutely embarrassing. Wow. And don't forget, folks, this week that the IMF warned nations. They warned that nations may cut US dollar reserves in response to the US sanctions that have taken place. The world is de-dollarizing, folks. They're dumping dollars. They don't want dollars. They don't want bonds. They don't want T-bills. They don't want any of that stuff because the world is starting to trade in different currencies. Unbelievable what is happening. Just a few years ago, petrodollar, the dollar, strongest ever. How quick things change. Isn't that incredible? All right, do we want to get to a question of your guys's out there? And the answer is yes, we got the slim one. A question for John: how long will oil in our country last us if we can't buy any from anywhere else? This is a very interesting question indeed. It's not hard for America, the United States of America, to become energy independent from the need for outside oil. We have massive oil reserves in Alaska. We're supposed to have enough oil reserves to last a couple hundred years in other parts of the country. Why we are not drilling for it, pumping it, to me is a bit of a mystery, because it would supply us with our own energy so we wouldn't have to rely on other countries and then provide military support to those countries. Saudi America, right? It would be nice to have those jobs here in America, pulling oil, which is energy, which is wealth and productivity, pulling it out of the ground here. American businesses, American people working, making money, wealth, keeping that money in our country instead of buying foreign oil, which means their oil comes here. We send cash out into the world, right? We send US dollars out into the world. It would be great, right? So how long will we last if we can't buy from anywhere else? The big question is, how true are these old stories that America has oil reserves everywhere? And if we do have them, why is it that we're going after and doing all this fracking in places where oil typically you wouldn't think of finding it? Fracking has incredible costs, maintenance, and the wells where they're fracking, petroleum products, they're not particularly long lasting or long lived. It's an incredible problem we have. So I can't say it. We're supposed to have hundreds of years. Then why can't we get it? And why are we doing things like fracking instead of getting really cheap oil? Biden has been dipping into the strategic oil reserves, which really is not that much. Initially, a long time ago, the US government set up strategic oil reserves so that in the event of war or an emergency or catastrophe, we would already have oil purchased and stored in the millions and millions of gallons to help America get by in lean times or troubling times, etc. Has that oil reserve grown in accord with our demand for energy? No. Right? It's just there as a stopgap. It's to make people feel good. It'd be like saying, you're going to have to go a year without food, but we're going to give you a week's worth of food to put in your pantry to make you feel good about it. You know it's not going to last. Everyone knows it's not going to last, but we all pretend like you're correct, and you know you're not. It is a great question and a great topic. It goes along with, well, the dollar's valuable, and the United States has Fort Knox, and it's full of gold, so it must have some value behind it. But nobody has audited, gone in and counted the gold bars in Fort Knox, not since the 1950s. The 1950s. How do we know it's even there? Well, we don't. Right? How do we know the oil's even there if nobody goes and gets it? Well, we really don't. They're just telling us. I want to give you an idea with this next story, this next topic. And folks, I don't have to make this shit up. I'm not making this shit up. This is real. This is what the world is all about. Are you ready? Right. It's about Democrat, socialist, and their violence. Right. At the Flint School Board, which is up in Michigan, the president of the Flint School Board is now fired because the president choked and punched the treasurer. Violence is not the students in this case, folks. The violence is the left-wing Democrat politicians who are so desperate for control, so desperate to control the money, that they will resort to violence with each other even. Right? I see this as the underlying issue that these socialists have. It's all control, and it's about using violence if you don't get your way. Either mask up kids, or punishment and violence is coming to you. Right? Punished being put in the closet, punished being told to sit outside and eat your lunch in the cold, punished being told you can't use the bathroom. And then also just direct violence, teachers violently attacking kids. And now these school board officers are punching and attacking each other. Folks, if socialists are violence at this low level, then you understand and see how violence at the world level is very real. It's the same mentality. Joe Biden, left-wing socialist scumbag type, says, I'm going to use violence to get my way. Right? We hear this at every level. Right? Yes, violence, power, and control is what they all want. And when SHTF when it gets hot and it comes to your state, your city, your neighborhood, expect this type of violence from those out there. And it's going to be at a very personal level. This is not, one president of one country using his military to go after another president and his military in another country. Right? That's impersonal. These people on the school board knew each other. They're all Democrat scumbags, and they're still fighting with each other. They're like starving hyenas, folks, turning on each other. How quick will they turn on you? Right? Are you prepared to defend yourself? It's another question to ask. You know, you need food, you need water, shelter, clothing, medicine to get by. And then to defend yourself, you need your Second Amendment freedom seed distributors. You need that. You need a plan because of what's going on out there. We're seeing the violence on an international level. We see it on a national level, like, you know, Justin Trudeau turning his police and mounted police with horses loose, trampling old women. Yep. Welcome to Canada. I thought Canadians were nice. I guess I was very wrong. Some of them aren't so nice. So we're seeing violence at that level, and we're seeing it now at the lower level. In addition to you know, school board members beating the shit out of each other because they want to control folks. And get this, the Flint school district, Flint, Michigan school district, it was like $150 million. Right? It's not a little bit of money. What do they get that much money for? Right? 150 million cerveza bug bucks, cerveza bug aid. 150 million for a school district to do what? They're not teaching anything. What are they going to do with this 150 million? Well, I guess they need to buy what? Maybe a frickin' ski chalet somewhere. Maybe they're going to buy Little St. James Island, which used to belong to Jeffrey Epstein. $150 million? Are you kidding me? I'm not kidding. Unbelievable. All right. Maybe let's see what you guys want to talk about. I've got all kinds of stuff here. I mean, some of this stuff is so incredible you won't believe it. But we're going to go with Sean Smith instead. And he says, John, I no longer drive a semi truck for work. And without using my CB radio daily, I am out of the loop with other truckers. Whatever happened with the convoy and Jizzy Maxwell? Update, please. Jizzy Maxwell, the good buddy, right? The partner in crime, literally, to Jeffrey Epstein. I didn't kill myself, Jeffrey Epstein, right? They're still going at it. That she was found guilty. No, there's a mistrial, right? That's really been just kind of put aside. The same way we had Comet Ping Pong and the James Oliphant thing, and he just kind of got swept away and put aside because other problems became big, huge, and front and center, blocked our view of the rest of the world. Well, it's my understanding that, you know, Jizzy Maxwell, that's continuing, but we're just not getting a lot of news on it. It's not over, in other words. And then the convoy apparently is in Washington, D.C. They're driving around, but it's not changing anything, is it? Sad to say, there's not a lot of talk about it. It's not being covered in the mainstream media. I guess just driving your truck in circles isn't enough. I guess you have to actually drive your trucks, park them in the middle of the street, and create a huge roadblock and issue. Do you think for a second that Nancy Pelosi is going to change her mind about anything we believe? And do you think for a second that a couple of trucks are going to make her change her mind on her policies? Same with Biden. Same with Kamala Harris. Do you think they give a rat spit about anything? If need be, they'll just get on a helicopter and fly over the top of the trucks over to Dulles International Airport or Andrews Air Force Base and then go to where they need to go. They don't really give a shit, folks. And they're not going to change their mind about anything. Justin Trudeau didn't change his mind about anything. And they actually shut Canada down. They shut down Ottawa by parking their trucks in the way. And that didn't change those very nice, polite Canuck politicians. Sean Smith, I don't know if it's good or bad to say congratulations or I'm sorry to the fact that you're no longer a truck driver. I know that was a very satisfying job for a lot of people, getting to see the country, meet exciting new people all the time. Know that you're doing your part, being productive. Yeah, what a world, folks. I want to get back to Joe Biden and the allies. Have you noticed we don't spend a whole lot of time talking cerveza bug either? Just a few months ago, it was the talk of the town. It was the talk of the world. Now we don't. Right now we have to worry about this Russia business. Right. In fact, today, Rand Paul had some things to say about Fauci. Maybe we'll get to that next. First, I want to talk about Russia. Russia has been sanctioned like it's never been sanctioned before, treated as badly as it was ever treated, maybe worse than during the Cold War with the Soviet Union, when Russia was the Soviet Union, right? Russia has many allies, right? Many allies, including China and India, folks, who represent almost, well, about a third of the world's civilized population. So Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov called the sum total of all of these isolation and sanctions from U.S. leadership, calling it a real hybrid war, and said that, quote, total war was declared on us, right? The Hill, which is another publication. You go to thehill.com if you want. The Hill wrote, the international sanctions have clearly hurt the Russian economy, though Lavrov emphasized that many states will decline to join that effort. Lavrov said, quote, we have many friends, allies, partners in the world, a huge number of associations which Russia is working with. Folks, that's right. Russia's working with China and India, about a third of the world's population. They want to sell them their energy. Russia does. Sell them oil, sell them gas. Russia just has to change who they sell their stuff to. And oil prices already being as high as they are. Shortages increasing because, you know, Houthi and the Blowfish are out there blowing up Aramco refining processes and tank facilities. You know, Russia can do basically whatever they want. They're not going to be hurt and crippled if they lose Europe. Europe, on the other hand, will be crippled very badly if they can't get Russian energy, right? This is just exasperated the shit hitting the fan, right? They just poured a runner into those fan blades, right? This is neither fast nor easy for all sides in this, folks, especially the people of all nations who were going to bear the brunt of the cost and bear the brunt of all the suffering, right? And we need not worry about our rich, our nobles, right? American oligarchs, American elitists. We don't have to worry about them. They're going to keep eating not only steak and lobster, but they're also going to eat the poor and middle classes with this to satisfy their desires, their lust to own everything. Imagine I can't put myself in there. I can't cast my mind, but I try. I try and imagine what it's like to have so much power that if I say words, I affect the stock market. That if I say words, people lose their jobs. If I just say a few words, the value of a company goes up or a company gets smashed. Right? These politicians, folks, have the ability to just utter words. These super rich people have the ability to utter a few words and change markets and change the world. That's the type of power, right? For breakfast, I might get a bowl of cream of wheat or some leftover rice and put some brown sugar and butter in it. You know, these people eat anything they want at all times. Right? That's an incredible amount of power, and it must be intoxicating. It absolutely must be intoxicating. Where do we go next? Do we go with one of your comments or? Oh, yep. comment it is. We got Uman, and he says, saw an interview with Trump from a few days ago. And he says, don't know how I missed it. He was bragging about giving missiles to his good buddy Zelensky. More confirmation for me that he's part of the club. Well, I'll tell you what. I thought about this all day, Mr. Uman, because we kind of had these words cross each other's desks. Trump was an outsider. Could it be that he didn't know how filthy everybody in D.C. is? Could it be that he doesn't know much more about Zelensky and how he came to power and who his sponsors and backers were? Could it be that he didn't know that? That he just thought he was some guy that got elected president there? And so, yeah, and could it be that he doesn't pay attention and doesn't understand that Zelensky is basically a neo-Nazi working for and under the globalist and oligarch billionaires? It's hard to believe he doesn't know. It's hard to believe he couldn't guess. It's hard to believe a lot of things today. It's hard to believe that there's not one single politician out there who's willing to stand up and change this. Well, wait a minute, they are. They actually are. There are people who are opposing what's going on. Right? We have DeSantis, who says, I don't recognize the biological male who identifies as a female. He doesn't recognize that person as winning the women's championship. There's another state that has now passed some rules saying you can't get an abortion after being pregnant 6 weeks. Right? That would be the Kansas. Oh, I'm sorry. That was another state. I think that was either Iowa or Indiana. And then we have Kansas, where the Senate has passed a bill authorizing prescriptions of horsey medicine. And they're making children exempt from getting the Jim Jones juice, right? But here's the deal. While phase 2 of the Great Reset has initiated the war phase, phase 1, right, it's still out there, right? War is phase 2. Phase 1 was cerveza bug. It's still out there, and there's some states still addressing the problem, trying to make things right and trying to help people, passing the correct laws. We have some governors, we have some foreign people, like that Alternative for Freedom, the Republican-style politician who told Justin Trudeau, "You're not welcome to speak here," right? Basically, you're a scumbag. There are good politicians out there, but the real power seems to be held, folks. It seems to be held at a level that good people can't get to. And President Trump became president of the United States. And then he started talking about it being a swamp. But has he continued to be duped and kept in the dark about things? Or does he really know and he's just playing part of a really, really, really elaborate game? You know, he's good buddies. My good buddy Zelensky. Was Zelensky the offensive person that he is? Look into who Zelensky really is, and you'll find that he's pretty offensive. You know, is Trump just grandstanding for himself in front of cameras, which is pretty normal for him? Or is he part of this great charade that's so big and so vast that we can never determine who is and isn't a good guy? And that ultimately they're all bad guys working against us, putting on a marvelous show, tremendous theater, in order to convince us this is normal and natural in the way the world works, instead of seeing it as a play, if you will, organized by the people at the top, making it look like they're having a hard time taking control of the planet, and that they have to keep doing that. They can't just come out and honestly say, America, Europe, the rest of the world, you're not free. Everyone is slaves. The government owns everybody, and even your life can be taken from you. Right? Do they not want to say that? You know, why would they need, if they have all this power, to go through the charades and the theater to get there? That's the part I still can't get. But Trump saying stuff like, yeah, my good buddy Zelensky, is confusing. It's upsetting. It's frustrating. It's maddening. How could he be so blind, or how could he be so ignorant of some very obvious political facts? Or could it be that he's been, shall we say, sufficiently hoodwinked into believing that he's the good guy, right? We got Uman. He said, also said the U.S. needs to get off the sidelines and should be helping Ukraine more. Exactly. We should be helping Ukraine more. At the same time, we're told that if you like exercise, that's a gateway drug to becoming a far right-wing extremist. So if you become a fitness nut and you get into mixed martial arts, or there's a recruiting system out there just waiting to bring you to the far extreme right. But over in Ukraine, far extreme right are the good guys. So we support those Nazis, but Nazis here we don't. See, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I don't think we should be helping Ukraine. In fact, I've got an article here that I'd like to share with you. I think it's a good one. Let's see. Oh, no. That would be Rand Paul declaring that Dr. Doom, the booster rooster, is a menace to society. That was a good one. Christine Bahana says, I just figured that out. Thank you, Nikki. Don't know why I needed to see that. All right. Erdogan called on Putin to make an honorable exit from Ukraine. You see, why go through the theater? Erdogan of Turkey is a NATO member now, but Erdogan is also a Russian ally of sorts. Why is this all theater? Right? What's going on here with all of this? Turkish President Erdogan on Friday, that's now, said that Russia and Ukraine are getting ever closer to reaching an agreement. Every time we hear that they're getting close to an agreement, the next hour, the next day, somewhere between the next hour and the next day, we hear that there is no progress and they're not getting anywhere. Right? I don't see Putin doing what he has done, sending his military into another country, risking military response from other countries, right? Why would he risk all of that just to say, we're going to give up, we're going to quit, right? We just wanted to make a point. No, that what they've done is not to make a point, right? If Putin were to give in and surrender, right, to sue for peace with Ukraine, if he were to surrender to them, it's an invitation to go after Putin in Russia at that point. Right? He's admitting that what he did was wrong. It's very, very scary what's going on. But yeah, Erdogan wants Putin to make an honorable exit. Question I have is why or how does the West make an honorable exit from this? Because I don't believe Putin's going to stop. So we've got the unstoppable force and the immovable object. Right? Which one is which doesn't matter. What's important to note is that it leads us right back into the swampy quagmire. Right? Russia can't back down and back off. The world already thinks he's a tyrant and a very bad guy. They already think that. That's not going to change if Putin just leaves, if he just goes away. Like, that's not going to change. So he can't quit. He can't gracefully bow out. You can't just say, make an honorable exit. The United States and NATO, can they? What I see happening is a prolonged Cold War standoff. And even though Joe Biden literally says, sanctions don't work. They never work. They're going to continue to sanction Russian business, Russian military, Russian officials. Russian rich guys, oligarchs, if you will. They're going to continue to sanction them. And it's not going to have a good effect for the world. Right? You sanction Russia, Russia can sanction the world. Claiming that we don't need Russia is kind of like claiming you don't need your legs to run a marathon. Right? You might be able to hop, skip, and bounce for a little while, but having legs certainly will help. Okay. Where do we go? Where do we go? Oh, this is a big one I want to share with you guys. We're running out of time on Free for All Friday, so if you have a question, get it into Jolene, and I'll squeeze you in here at the end. The unelected bureaucratic leadership in the European Union proposes that they start price controls to stop the energy price shock, the increase in the cost of gas, fuels, etc. And I, for one, have been waiting for this very moment. Controlling prices by a government is always used when things go really, really bad, right? To me, it is the biggest indicator. It's an admission by government that by doing price controls, they're admitting that the free market is not free and it's not working, it's broken, right? This follows, it's the same to me as the 1970s. That model of inflation out of control, hyperinflation, and it was followed by price controls, then restrictions, regulations, and rationing, right, on fuel. There were empty gas tanks, grocery store issues, followed by a decade of a shit storm of crap for the economy. Right? Literally 10 years plus of a crappy economy. But it started with inflation getting out of control, and then the government saying, we're going to fix that by doing price controls. This is Europe, folks. This is the European Union that has proposed price controls or price caps. Right? That's absolutely taking any freedom out of the market. Are we going to see that here in the US? It's quite possible. They're talking about it in Europe. In the United States, they're now talking about us being in a recession, which tells me we're actually in a depression. People can't afford to pay a couple extra bucks. They can't afford to have their gas bill go from 25 to 50 bucks, from 50 bucks doubling to 100 bucks, from 100 bucks going to 200 bucks a month. That's a pretty big fuel bill, don't you think? Instead of paying 100, it's now 200. Well, the difference is only $100. Are you telling me that families don't have an extra 100 bucks laying around every month? That's how tight the market is. That's how strict the economy is with its lower and middle classes. That being the case, our economy is in shambles, folks. And this indicator, right, price controls, it never solves any issue. In fact, it leads to making things worse. And Biden, of course, he's good at making things worse. He really is. I mean, their slogan, Build Back Better, that was created in response to Make America Great Again. So they came up with their own slogan that they could remember, Build Back Better. What has Biden built other than probably a good case of crappy diapers? He's probably got a huge box full of them. That's about all he's built. Let's see, he's let in illegal immigrants, another 250,000 to 250,000 this month alone, the last 31 days. He's done that. He's killed hundreds of thousands of jobs on day one of being in. He's penalized the country. He hasn't done anything positive that I can find. He was supposed to be the great uniter, and the country would be just reveling in friendship and love, except what they really do is divide. They're a very divisive party. That's how they came to power. That's how they got their power. So they use it to keep their power. It's absolutely incredible, folks, right? More on the gold story with Russia. Now, Russian central banks are buying more gold, right? More gold than ever. I'm really concerned about them announcing a gold standard. Is it going to be this weekend, next week, the weekend after? I don't know, but a gold standard could be coming. We had another question there, Jolene. Let's get to it. We've got James Nicholson. He says, how long would DC last if the convoy stopped all traffic in and out? Well, I mean, if all traffic was stopped in and out by the truckers, I don't think DC would last 36 hours. A day and a half, there would be riots, absolute riots. That's just my opinion. I wouldn't want to be there when that happens. If they stopped it, stopped all entrances and exits. I mean, people would have to leave on foot. People would have to bring food in by foot. It would show the world if they did that, folks. It would show the world how weak a government actually is and how thoughtless and careless it is with regard to its own people. The same way Justin Trudeau showed his love for the people by having police steal their wood, steal their fuel, contaminate their fuel with water, assault, beat, and even trample people with horses. You see, when you get right into the face of the demon shows you who he is. That's why they want to keep us all away. That's why they're building walls around bureaucratic buildings, the White House, Congress, etc. They want to keep people away. They don't want people to see who they really are. But remember, the politicians, the bureaucrats there in DC, they're not going to have any problem getting their veal and their lobster. They're not going to starve. But the people, right, the people that live in DC, they would definitely feel the pinch real fast. I would say 36 hours. Now, between now and Sunday Night Live, the zoo, we've got exactly 49 hours. We're going to go live. 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time will kick off the show. Now, Sunday afternoon, I'll be back from Mom's for sure. I'll get caught up on everything, get the show prepared, and we will get it on Sunday Night Live style. I recommend clearing the mind. Get a drink if you must, right? Or 2 or 3. Don't overdo it. Relax. Get a break. It's very nasty out there, folks. It is very nasty. But try not to let it affect you too much negatively. Turn your phone off. Leave your cell phone at home. You know, tell the babysitter. Don't call, right? If we get home and no one's home, we'll assume you're down at the hospital getting someone stitched up. Otherwise, yeah, there's no emergencies. We're told that we need to keep our phone with us all the time in case of emergency. Well, I actually have gotten 2 emergency calls in the last 10 years. One for a car wreck, one for a broken leg. In both cases, I got the call in the middle of the day while working. So, yeah, if you need to, folks, take a couple hours off, right? Relax. Don't worry. Be happy. But more important than all of that is be prepared. Right? If you're prepared, if you have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, if you have all that in a plan, you're prepared. Take a few hours and relax. I'll see you Sunday night, and we'll get back into this. It's not going to go away. It just isn't. Right? Thank you very much for supporting me, John, and that Roger guy sometimes. Thank you for supporting the Prepared Mind channel through YouTube, through Patreon, and also through PayPal. And thank you, Jolene, for the hard work you do. Uman, thank you, sir, for the hard work you perform for all of us. And we'll be back for Sunday Night Live.